I don't usually talk on my videos that much nowadays, but something's happened in the past couple of days that sort of warranted it. Um, I had a Twitter basically cancelled because of a complete piece of shit called Zandhall, or what he's really called is Pig Puncher, but he changed his name for the simple reason that he claims that he was getting threats and he was worried about seeking the police if he had a name that would suggest, you know, police being pigs and whatever. You know, it all sounded very suspect to me the first time I heard it. It sounded more likely to me that he was basically, he'd said shit in the past and he was trying to find, trying to recreate himself, because supposedly he was a member of the Chud Right. And he had a massive change, but the thing is, the more that I've looked into him, the more I think he's more like a born-again Christian. And with what's happened in the past 24 hours to Destiny, I think that him and Vaush are basically becoming a new version of internet blood sports, and I'll explain why. Because personally, I hope they go down in flames like the right-wing internet blood sports did. Yes, so basically Destiny was clipped, and this clip managed to get all over the internet, and it smells very much like what was happening in internet blood sports with what was known as gay ops, where people would get together on a Discord, come up with some scheme to discredit or basically get people banned from things. And surprise, surprise, one of my Twitters was completely frozen. Fortunately, I had a backup. But yeah, it was completely frozen by basically Zandhall fans, because I called him a lolcow, and supposedly by his really dodgy opinions, that means that I'm a Nazi incel. So using a common piece of internet language, that makes you instantly into a incel and a Nazi at the same time. And all through the day I had his morons all sort of magnifying his twaddle. I banned loads of them. They wouldn't leave me alone. Some of them were threatening as well, saying that they were going to get me and stuff like that, you know. All the usual stuff that the alt-right were doing. So, yeah, I personally, you know, if it was sort of just an isolated case, I'd put it down to, well, you know, maybe he's not got any control over his audience, which is the excuse I've heard loads of times from people like Bearing for a good instance. Oh, I can't control my audience. They decide that they want to screw with someone's life, and it's pretty hilarious when these people claim to be left wing. I've not been a major scold. I don't consider myself woke, but I'm certainly not a Nazi, since I've been stabbed by Nazis. I've been a trade unionist for the past 20 years. I've voted Labour, which is a heck of a lot more than Vouch has ever done. I do find it really hilarious, all this I'm somehow a major part of the left wing, that we keep hearing from Vouch and we hear it from Xander, but when you actually look at their video library, all they do is comment on things, and that's it. It was very funny during the LA riots that there's a centrist I follow called Vito, and he went down to the LA riots and he filmed them. Oh. Yeah, he was on the streets, he saw the tear gas, he saw all of the shit that was going on, all of the breaking of windows, things like that. Also the Paul brothers were going down there as well. And what was Vouch doing and what was Zandhall doing? Oh, they were sitting on their sofa streaming, smelling their own farts. And Vouch was crying because his computer wasn't working and he had to use his phone and he couldn't look up all the facts all the time. And I was like, is this it? I was even in his chat saying, why don't you go outside and stream? Why don't you stream from one of these Black Lives Matter protests? And of course it was ignored. Of course it was. Because Vouch basically is all talk. He's very much like Donald Trump in so many ways. He's so incredibly ignorant. He's racist. He says sexist shit all the time. He has said stuff about trans people I'd never say. The funny thing about Xanderhall, and what must have really pissed him off for him to start reacting to me, was that I'd watched... He got into some friction with a trans Twitch streamer who I quite like, called Corvaday, who she's doing videos on The Sims 4, and I like The Sims 4, and she talks to you and she's very friendly and very nice. But you listen to Xanderhall and he talks about her like she's sort of the reincarnation of Satan. Oh, for crying out loud! I haven't played this game since about 1994, so I'm not purposely playing bad. Also, it's a bit different using a joypad over the... I used to play this in an arcade, so the arcade system is just a little bit more sensitive. I prefer this golf game to some of these golf games on the PS4. That there's not a massive crowd. I can't stand it when and you got a commentary going over the top. Oh no! It's quite a tough game actually. This one. But anyway, as I was saying, so you know. If it was an isolated case, I'd go, well, maybe it's just two people don't like each other. You know, they're going to be shitty. But it all seems one way, and he says some really cruel, nasty shit about her, which sort of made me a bit, you know, what's going on here? And all the claims that somehow there's a conspiracy against him. And then you start looking into the number of trans people that Xander has had problems with, or gay people, or non-binary people, and then you start thinking, is this a pattern? And yeah, I mentioned this. I've said, well, he seems like a bit of a piece of shit, because supposedly Gordo was saying on a Twitch stream, she doesn't want to talk to him. He keeps sort of trying to start drama all the time. And yeah, and it reminded me so much of back in the days of internet blood sports with Tonkasaw. Tonkasaw starting drama with people, or starting drama with people who weren't even real sort of, the most they'd had like 1 or 2 interactions with a person, therefore they couldn't be trusted, therefore let's start a load of drama with them. Or they vote a certain way, or they think a certain way, or they've said something in the past, or they said something stupid in one of their early videos. Oh, we can create a load of drama around that and get a load of drama berries. And me personally, the nail on the head for me was when I watched a Vouch video and he was listing all of the guests that he'd had, and all the debates he'd had, and all that stuff. And his number one person who he thinks is absolutely wonderful is TJ Kirk. And I'm like, I was a fan of the Drunken Peasants. I wasn't a fan of TJ Kirk. TJ Kirk had a lot of really yikes takes in his own videos. I very rarely would watch his videos, because the thing that put me off the most was I watched a video he did about the totally harmless Milo Stewart. And I've been following Milo Stewart for years because, well, he is a really nice person, and for a while I was thinking about looking into having a sex change. Back in my teen years, I really wanted to change, but I've been told that, you know, surgery alone probably wouldn't work on me, because I've got a testosterone imbalance anyway. I look like a caveman. So I've always carried her an interest, and she's such a, well, he is a he now, but she was a she, and would talk about transition and all this stuff. Was such a sweet, nice person. And then you watch the TJ Kirk video that was a response to a completely harmless video, and he comes across as the most unlikable piece of shit probably ever. It was sort of the equal of someone like, say, Mr. Metzger. But then TJ claims that he's a lefty, sort of century left person, but then he's done yikes videos, and it's not the first time he's said really yikes things either. TJ very famously got into a really major argument with Steve Shives over what they call it, oh shit, gentrification. And TJ's take was so, you know, oh yeah, we should have gentrification because it makes the area nicer, and not actually taking into account gentrification means that they basically kick out all the minority people living in that area and knock down their houses and build coffee shops, or they convert old buildings into coffee shops. But the people aren't living there anymore. They've been forced out. Usually the trick is they'll use some sort of renting system and raise all the rents, making it impossible for people to sustain their livelihoods in these areas. And it's completely disgusting. I've seen it happen to central London. People who'd lived there for generations were literally forced out to sort of live in Kent because they couldn't afford to live in London anymore. And all their houses and flats were given off to for weekend residents, for rich wankers. Some of them not even sort of from the UK. A lot of house ownership actually went to Russian financiers who would use it as emergency capital. Because central London, you know, people always want to live in, almost a hole in one. What's it, hole in two or whatever. Yeah, so that was a really yikes take. And TJ said some really stupid things in the past, got into some really stupid arguments, and said some really dumb things. But, you know, Volch seems to think that the sun shines out of his arse and he wants to be the new TJ Kirk. But then we come to this whole Destiny thing. Now, I've been a Destiny fan mainly since probably just after the JonTron thing, because I watched the JonTron video. I can even remember warning, because I was sort of friends with Tonkasaw, whatever you do, don't debate him, because he was gunning for him. I said, you don't want to debate him. He's not like the people he debated before, because Tonka would have a bit of a problem. He usually would drag other people in if he was talking to me, because me being a bit autistic anyway, I've got a memory, I can remember things a lot better. I talk about stuff from a left-wing point of view, but at that time I was still sort of, I'd consider myself still Liberal Democrat. I wasn't what I am now, a social libertarian. You know, me personally, I want to see the end of money now. I want to see a utopian society, something similar to Star Trek, where people do the jobs they want to do, not the jobs they have to do. You know, there's no way he'd debate me on something like that. Especially now what we know everything about what was going on behind the scenes with Tonkasaw, that he's basically a bullshit artist, that he's never actually owned anything seriously in his life. And he used to talk like he was a big businessman who owned loads of stuff, and it was all a fairy tale in his mind. Oh, son of a bitch. I have been looking actually at some of the golf games on this on the PlayStation 5, because there's going to be like a VR golf game, because I do actually quite like a game of golf, but the problem is where I live, it was okay for years and years and years. You could go down the golf club on a Saturday, but since they, well, again, gentrified part of my town, all the golf course price went through the roof, and I couldn't afford to go. You know, I can't afford paying out 50 quid for like 2 hours. Oh no! But yeah, as I was saying about, I think we're about to see well, I call them the faux left, because they, you know, Xander says all sorts of shit. He told me he was an anarchist, but then I've heard him say he was a social libertarian. I've heard Welsh say that he's not actually a Marxist, but he talks Marx all the bloody time. You know, it's like, I personally think they're just LARPing it. I doubt they even vote. You know, Xander made all this bullshit about supposedly people are trying to hunt him down, members of his family, all this shit. And I was like, dude, can you do anything that's not drama based? You know, most people move house because they want to move house. They're not trying to pretend that they're sort of Jason Bourne and that it's all, there's a big conspiracy against him. You know, I'm just like, oh God, get a life, mate. Really, I think, again, like Internet Blood Sports, it's going to turn out in the end that Xander is like a nobody, much like Tonsil turned out to be a nobody, which I always felt was a bit sad, really, you know, that he couldn't even appear on a webcam. And he'd get so upset and so angry, and I just felt like, you know, really what he needs is a big brother. He needs someone who would sort of tone him down a little bit and say, you know, you are going a bit over the top here. And also stop challenging everyone to a fight. You know, you don't have to try to be a guy with the biggest dick in the room. You know, you can hang back and listen to people, then you make friends with them, and then you move on from there. The classic case of that is someone who weirdly is considered right-wing, but I've never heard him say anything right-wing. He comes across more as like a Liberal Democrat. Is Mauler, who admittedly his streams can be a little bit of a handful to watch. I usually limit it to when I'm doing a really long shift and I'm on my own. I'll listen to one of his streams where he's criticising someone who's criticised something. Oh shit. Oh dear, wasn't paying attention. Because they are a bit long. I think the longest one I listened to was like nearly 13 hours long. But it's quite funny. Rags is on it, and that's funny because Xander for a while was talking in like terms that he was respectful and he cared about people's opinions, and all of a sudden he changed. And I think it was basically his mask fell off because his whole delivery, especially now, is exactly the same as listening to a Rags video. Especially his Gamergate videos. It's got that same "I'm more intelligent than everyone else around me" vibe. Which it works with Rags because Rags can actually be quite a funny guy. But it doesn't work with Xander because he's got no sense of humour. With him, he comes across as basically an arrogant dickhead. Much like Welsh comes across as an arrogant dickhead too. Oh, out of bounds? Ooh. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's not going to make it. Come on. Ah! Come on, go, go, go! Yes! I'll take my own horn there. Yeah, so my theory of what's going to happen is Welsh will eventually lose his channel, because every time I've seen him recently, he's said some really stupid shit, and he usually comes up with loads of excuses, and then he'll say, oh, people are taking me out of context and all that stuff. Like that really stupid thing he was saying about the black conservative woman who I think that Chapo Trap House did a better review of her because she's a big friend with Talik Nasheed, and I was like, oh my god, not him again. The guy with the most stupid hot takes. But yeah, so yeah, Vouch was saying some really stupid shit that just made him sound like he basically sounded racist. He was basically saying that all black conservative women have a certain look. He said all black women have a certain look and talk in a certain way, which I was like, what? When I first heard it, I thought, what's going on about? I'm like, what was he saying that women who have straight hair are somehow, you know, what? But yeah, it turns out that his audience even noticed this and commented. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, when you don't have the ability to recognise that maybe you're saying something that could be considered offensive, I think you've got Half-Life coming. This whole thing with Destiny as well, and I look at it as an obvious gay op. They, because there's been supposedly releases from Vouch's Discord where he was saying shit to his audience about they should de-platform people. I'm like, that's going to work out well for you, mate, because the next time you do a major screw up, like, how many times has he done it? I know he got banned from Twitch for saying some really heinous shit. I heard it that he was misquoted, and I actually heard the quote. I was like, this isn't a misquote. He's saying anti-Semitism. Oh. Yeah, you can have an argument and say you don't like the Likud party. I don't. I think they're a bit bonkers and they start conflict to stay in power. That's all fine. But what Vouch was basically saying is all the people of Israel hold the guilt for actions done by one party. That'd be like someone saying that every American is guilty of the policies of the Republican Party. So, what? Game over. God, this takes me back. I think it was about 1991. I was on holiday with my grandparents.
Please select the type of your game.
Single player.
Who do you play as?
Oh, baby. English bloke.
Understood. Please select your challenging course. USA. Grand Golf Course.
Yeah, so
Final day.
I think what's more likely going to happen is if Biden wins, you're going to see Vouch and this gaggle of idiots basically go to full internet blood sports and start attacking liberals. They've already been attacking liberals and the left. It's very funny when what made me think at first that Sandhall's possibly a piece of shit was when Fortsline came out against him, and I'm like, he's a nice guy. He's not the sort of bloke who's going to be casting shitty aspersions on people for no reason. You know, it'd be like if the serfs said something, my ears would prick up, because Lance is quite a nice bloke and he's pretty charming, and it's a shame he's heterosexual. But yeah.
Hole number 2, 456
Yeah,
yards.
when it's reasonable people and they're repeating something that they've heard, I'm a bit, that's strange. Because even Xander was making a big song and dance about Kevin Logan. I'm like, Kevin isn't the sort of person who is putting out wild gossip, mate. If it was Keemstar, I'd be a bit suspicious. Because he has a tendency to be massively hyperbolic for attention. Or if it was Leafy, who's now completely banned. I don't know where he's going to go now. He's probably going to go to somewhere like BitChute. But yeah, if it's coming from someone like, say, Mr. Messica or Tonkasaw or someone, or Ethan Ralph would probably be the ultimate in sort of casting aspersions based on practically nothing. But yeah, all these stories have come out about how Xander was acting really weird towards women in a Discord group. And I was like, ugh, what's that about? And then there's all of this stuff with the way that he covers it all always seems a little bit... What's going on there then? Because he'll say stuff like there's sort of like an Illuminati group who are out to get him. And, you know, when people have got that sort of mindset, it's a little bit like Trump with the deep state. Oh, bollocks. Screwed that one up. You know, it's unbelievable. Oh, sodding coconut tree. Oh, little shit. Ah! Oh! Funniest looking Englishman I've ever seen. Right.
Hole number 4, 684 yards.
He actually looks more like an American bloke. I can't remember his name. Jack Thompson, the bloke who claimed that playing Carmageddon would make teenagers go out and run over people. Total twaddle. Yeah, it's really ironic when you've got someone who claims to be on the left saying, don't trust Kevin Logan, because it's usually the right-wingers who don't like Kevin Christie. Ones like Sargon of Akkad. That's the other thing that why I think that Valve is probably going to go the internet blood sports route at some point, because he's a terrible debater. I watched the debate he had with Sargon and it was pitiful, really. Both of them. The first one, he could be a little bit forgiven because why he would have approached Adam Friended, I've got no idea. You know, I watched stuff by Adam Friended, or Adam Strange is his real name, but I watched stuff of his from like 2011, and he tried to get in with Kevin Christie and Steve Shives, and I thought, well, these people aren't stupid, mate. But, you know, eventually I think they worked out what his game plan was. That he was going to be like a sort of anti-SJW, and he was trying to get in with them by using reasonable language. You know, sort of like a spy would do. Oh, sure. because admittedly Adam for a while he could come across as quite reasonable when he was with a fella called Michael. I'm gonna have to look it up on Stephen Michael something over his name. Let's have a look on Twitter. I've got loads of stuff. I found pictures of a buffet from one of the Trump hotels earlier, and it was an absolute nightmare. It looked like something from like the Cthulhu mythos, and I've been joking about it with people all day. Where is it? It goes by Scuba My Steve.
Oh no!
He left his penalty. Player 1 had a bad day. This is Nancy's report.
Hole number 6, 486.
Stephen Michael Davis, that's his name. He's a libertarian, and I get on with him quite well because we've both got sort of. I'm more libertarian with my views on government control. I'm not a big fan of having an all-seeing eye sort of judging me all the time. You know, part of me is actually pretty glad that the nanny state stuff from the Blair years is really beginning to disappear now. Because there was a period where the UK public were the most observed public on the planet. We're observed even more than North Korea. Yay! Yeah, so Steve and Adam had this podcast called Super Villains Anonymous, and it was quite entertaining, but it did get a little bit alt-righty in places, especially near the end, where Adam basically was getting frustrated because I think that he's a frustrated writer. Supposedly he does script editing, he lives in Hollywood, and he's just a bit frustrated that he's never been the big hits. But he's gone full hard alt-right. Hopefully one day he'll grow out of that and just sort of go for something a little bit. Oh, you sod! Here's the wrong driver. Oh! Yeah, it's a shame really, because you know it could be actually quite witty, as well as much like TJ Kirk works a lot better when he's doing a podcast. When he's got people around him to bounce off of, he's much more entertaining. When he's on his own, it's like sort of watching an angry uncle. Oh, please. Freak that one up. Oh no!
Player 1 stays Warren. This is Nancy's report.
Hole number
But
617 yards.
basically, what I'm saying is, Welsh, I've got a feeling, won't be happy. He's gonna have it's quite funny because I think Welsh is gonna end up in the same boat as Sargon, where you know there's that famous thing: don't wish for everything you want because you might get it. And I think because he's been trying to pretend that he's pro-Biden recently when it's obvious he's not. But you know, he's going to have to somehow keep his credibility. So I think he's going to go the full internet blood sports and start attacking left-wing people for not being true believers. He comes across as a bit of a dick already when it comes to stuff. You know, when he did that big attack on Sean and Jen, and I was like, yeah, but Sean can say he doesn't like Biden. It's fine, because Sean lives in Britain. And he's not, he's criticising Biden for the very real reason that Biden has a really sort of sort of touchiness that just comes across as pretty creepy. He's not anywhere in the league of, say, Trump and Epstein, but it does come across as a bit, you know, it's just, but you know, what options left now? There's no one who's going to be able to take over this late time. And you know, I was completely pro Bernie Sanders, but I knew he was never going to win. Really, what Americans need to do is start a Labour Party. You're never going to get what you want through the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party are a conservative party. They're not left-wing. They only appear to be left-wing because they're next to the ultra-right-wing of the Republican Party, but they're not. They're a conservative party. Their policies are nearly identical to the UK Labour Party, UK Conservative Party. They're not socialist in any possible way. You know, they believe in, like, the market and capitalism and private home ownership and things like that. They do progressive things occasionally, but usually it's not till it's... To not do it would be against public opinion. You just look at gay marriage. You know, it's quite hilarious that Britain and America were so late to the game on gay marriage. You know, in comparison to some other countries, I think Germany had gay marriage back in like the 70s or something. I'll just double check that. I can't remember. I know it was a European country. First country to allow gay marriage. Oh, no. Gonna go out of bounds. Oh. Let's play it safe. Nice. What? That's borderline, you swines. Yeah, something else that this really reminds me of with this whole Destiny thing. I don't agree with what Destiny actually said, but in the context of the larger argument, he was saying he is right. People shouldn't be sort of protesting at night time, because what will eventually happen is there'll be a major crackdown. I don't know what they expect to get out of it. I follow one of these Twitch channels called Concrete Report, and I've even said, why are you hanging around till like 4 in the morning? Wouldn't this be better done in the daytime? Come on. Ah! Who play golf this way? This golf course is ridiculous. Ow! Yeah, the hanging around at night time, I think, is really dangerous, especially now people are carrying guns. That whole thing with the teenager who went and shot a person. Well, he shot multiple people. I know about conflict awareness. I have to know this stuff for my job, to work on the railway, and I have to sometimes deal with drunken, abusive people. Especially elderly abusive people who can turn bloody nasty and start hitting you with things if they don't get their own way. So you have to know what your boundaries are. Now, my understanding of what happened that evening was a shot was fired from behind this kid, and caused some panic and people believing that he was firing at them, and a bloke basically approached him, supposedly the bloke who had a criminal record for something to do with sex offending, but it was like something like 20 years ago, but the right wing had been using that as some form of justification. Well, he literally started chasing after this kid, and the kid must have panicked and shot him. Now that, in terms of self-defense, can be justified. I'd never do it because, fortunately, living in the UK, I don't have access to a firearm. But if I was carrying something like litter pickers and someone came grabbing at me, I could hit them around the head with it. As long as I stop there and don't start kicking them whilst they're on the ground, I'm pretty legally safe. Oh, that was so close. You know, that first killing could be justified as self-defense. What can't be justified is the second killing and the injuring of someone. That can't be defended as self-defense. That would fall into the category of loss of personal control. Maybe though, I hope that it's not going to turn into a murder case, that it'll become something like a manslaughter case. Because to turn it into a murder case, you know, it's going to be really, really messy, and then you'll have all of the proof problems, and then the media will get, oh, you swine! Media will get involved. Shift a little bit further. 80%. Oh. Shit it. Nice.
Player 1 for double bogey. Player 1 for triple bogey. You must
Yeah, so
play.
basically Destiny said this stuff that was really,
Okay.
basically it was hyperbolic,
Player 1.
but it was spread around the internet
This is Nancy's
by
report.
lots of people are saying that amazingly alt-right people weren't majorly involved in this,
Player 1.
that this was mainly people on the left who don't like Destiny, you know, because because he's popular, and because he holds opinions that, you know, I think the first major thing that upset a load of left-wing people was when he was criticising what's her name, Ocasio-Cortez, because she was saying something really sort of left-wing and sort of against the Democrat Party, and he was basically saying what she's saying is basically not helping. It's not helping her. It's not helping the party. It's making them look like they've got a division going on. Oh no!
Penalty for overpower.
I had a friend who had
Goes back.
Neo Geo back in the 90s. Had these huge cartridges, and you could only play it for like 4 hours at a time, or it'd start smelling like melting plastic. And it was such an expensive machine. The first time we'd smell sort of warm plastic, we'd sort of turn it off and have a go on his Amiga for a couple of hours, then come back to it. But he didn't have the golf game because, you know, not exciting enough. But things like Final Fight and WWF WrestleFest. Christ, we used to play that for fucking hours. But yeah, this whole attempt to deplatform Destiny, I think Valve's going to really regret it, because I watched Destiny stream, and basically he looked as depressed as when he got kicked off of Twitter because the alt-right Kumite crowd they were mass flagging stuff. Every post put up, they'd mass flag it. They were doing lots of other things like sending phone calls and emails to the FBI, not CIA, the FBI, saying that he was a paedophile and all sorts of shit. You know, and him being a single dad, it could have affected his seeing his child and things. I don't know, just like, these people are pretty sick, but you know, I always thought maybe, well, the left surely it'd be better. The left don't go to this level, but this current left, this bitter because Bernie Sanders isn't going to be president left, who don't like anyone who is critical of their ideas, is basically now going to be targeted by left-wing blood sports. And like internet blood sports, I hope they eat themselves, that they all start turning on each other, and you know, Valve will lose his YouTube channel, he'll lose his Twitter, all those people who he has as his weird fanboys all start turning on each other, and hopefully the left wing will lose this rather poisonous element. You know, my view's always been that never act like your enemies. You know, the British and American army during World War II didn't act like the German army or the Japanese. They acted like civilized people. I be the German, but for Germany as well. Oh, you knock balls around cold. Yeah, they didn't act like the SS. They weren't executing prisoners. They didn't do. They didn't torture people. But when you've got the left wing acting like the right wing, I think, oh dear, this is bad. This isn't going to last. You know, I don't understand how people can keep going on about this. When they use the term anarchist can mean so many things. You know, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand were done by anarchists. You know, if you're going to say you're an anarchist, you want to sort of, similar to me when I say that I am social libertarian, I'm also a believer in hedonism. I think that society should be based around making people happy. I don't believe it should be based around profit and capitalism, because capitalism has a tendency to destroy things, because that's the nature of the market. Yeah, don't run your country like a business. Run your country to the betterment of the citizenry. Make their lives easier. Make their lives more content. Give them more free time. That's my politics, basically. I'm also a member of the Green Party. I think that society and the environment should be like a man and his horse. You know, a man's not going to be beating the crap out of the horse and not feeding him. He won't get anywhere. You know, he's tender and kind and helps his horse and cleans them and takes care of them, makes sure that they're well, things like that, that they're not startled every 5 minutes. And really that's how human beings should be with the environment. We shouldn't be destroying all the other wildlife for profit. Because my views aren't very radical at all. I actually think that radicalism, just like extremes of right and left, never work, because they can only be held in position usually through some form of violence, whether that violence is state oppression or just basically beating up your opposition all the time. It's non-sustainable, because inherently people want to seek happiness. They don't want to be told what to do all the time. It's one of the reasons why I don't think wokeness is going to be lasting forever. I think that, like all fashions, because wokeness is really a fashion, I like some of the woke ideas. I just don't like the way that they're delivered to people in a very sort of bossy, snobby way. Especially by politicians. You know, film stars I can forgive because most film actors are pretty wacky people anyway, full of neurosis, because you need that to be an actor in the first place. You need to be a few sort of yeah, you need to be a person who, in building terms, the lift doesn't reach the top floor. Especially when they start becoming successful, and you know, they have one big success, but unfortunately sometimes that one big success is their only success. You know, when I look at Christopher Lambert, you know, Highlander and Greystoke, both absolutely fantastic movies, but after that he did a heck of a lot of crap.
Double bogey. Oh no!
Penalty for overpar. Okay.
I'll complete this and then I'm going offline because I've got jacket potatoes to eat. Oh, I think I've got a summer cold as well, which is bloody annoying. Bad enough I have to work around people with COVID all the bloody time. That's something else that really absolutely fucking pisses me off about these lazy fucking streamers lecturing me on sort of what I'm doing. You know, I had one of these woke wankers on Facebook criticise me, saying, "Why are you going out? Why are you going out? I'm going to report you to Facebook." I said, "I'm out because I'm at work, you stupid tosser. I'm an essential worker." Well, don't stay out after work then. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to a beach after I've done a 12-hour shift. Friggin' idiot.
Oh no!
Penalty for overpar. Player 1 had a
Ooh.
7.
player
Oh.
1 tee shot.
Good shot.
Yeah, normally I'd be having a snooze this time the afternoon because I'm on my early shifts, and I have to get up at well, this morning I had to get up at 4 to be at work at 5, but tomorrow I've got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which isn't fun. You know, I get a bit sick and tired of breadtubers who don't actually have jobs. Their streaming's their job, and they talk about, you know, people going on strike and people doing this, that and the other. And I'm like, dude, I haven't got the energy to do that shit after I've done my shit. When you're doing 3 in the morning till... When you get up at 3 in the morning and you don't finish work till 3 in the afternoon, the last thing I'm thinking about is going to some Marxist meeting to discuss discuss co-ops and things like that. It's the last thing on my mind. First thing on my mind is keep my brain going by having nap.
Whole number.
Because you get to a certain point in the mid-afternoon when you can't really focus anymore on things. And you know, if you sit still for too long, particularly with the hot weather we've got again at the moment. You just nod off. I get it a lot on when I'm going back to my home station on the train. I'll just sort of constantly be nodding off and waking up and then nodding off and waking up and nodding off. It's one of the reasons why I'm never going to be a train driver, because I just look at the track and be...
Double bogey.
Double bogey.
Double bogey.
Oh no!
Penalty for overpar.
Supposedly Xander Hall's also very, very paranoid, so he'll probably watch this video and he'll tell his little goon camp to sort of be targeting me and make up a load of drama. You know, that thinking cat, he's an evil mastermind, head of Spectre. The fact that I'm actually a part, I've
Once more.
been anti-fascist pretty much my whole life. I was sort of Antifa before Antifa was really a thing. When I was in Belgium back in the early 90s and skinheads used to attack people at raves, I got attacked. I got attacked by two blokes who thought I was a woman because I had long purple hair, because I was basically a zippy, which was like a techno hippie, and basically they tried to rape me. When they found out I was a boy, because I was about 17 at the time, and not a girl, they decided to stab me in the chest. And now I'm being told by this piece of shit, oh, you're a Nazi incel because you use the word lolcow. Fuck you, mate. You're a paranoid jerk who's never achieved anything in your life. You're not Hunter Avalon, mate.
Okay. Player 1 stays lower rank. Better luck next time.
Hole number 10, 584 yards, par 5.
The longest drive contest. Good luck. Player 1, tee shot.
I watched most of the Essence of Thought video about him as well. That was pretty much, you know, so I'd seen his reaction to Essence of Thought, but
Second shot.
I wonder what they're actually going on about, because I'm very confused. I know it was some months ago, but all the gaslighting, Jesus Christ, all the claims. I've had mental illness problems. I've had nervous breakdowns a couple of times because I wasn't diagnosed with Asperger's till I was in my late 30s. And I'd have breakdowns because the people around me would literally be driving me crazy, because when you have Asperger's, your mind has a tendency to wander, and if someone says something hurtful, your brain will dwell on it. And fucking Zanhall is going after Essence of Thought over their mental illness, and then claiming that they're a psychopath and stuff. I'm like, fuck you, mate. You're the fucking psychopath.
Player 1, 8th shot.
You know, doing this armchair psychiatrist bit. I'm like, that's the sort of stuff right-wingers do, you little turd.
On the green. You must give up playing this.
Oh
Give up the penalty. Player 1 falls back.
But yeah, you look at that, and if it was like one trans person, you'd sort of be, well, maybe, you know, there's nothing to this. But when it's that there's loads and loads of people, Oh, I'm looking at the wrong end of the map.
Third shot.
Oh. Yeah, when it's lots and lots of people, and lots of people who come across as normal, nice people. You know, they're not crackpots. They're not sort of like marga people. You sort of get a bit, well, what's going on there then? You know, when it's someone really reasonable like Faults Line, I'm like, no, I'm not believing that he's part of some cult, or it's Kevin Logan and Christy Winters, that they're part of some master plan by woke scolds. I'm like, no, that don't work, mate. You know, that'd be like sort of claiming it gets to the level of sort of like a sort of Pizzagate type conspiracy theory where everyone in Hollywood is secretly, they know what's going on, but they're all silent about it. And it's like, no.
Good shot.
Player 1, second shot.
I've never understood the appeal of people who do nothing but drama. You know, Onision, I never understood that. You know, Onision did stuff that could be considered funny. I always remember the I'm a Banana thing. Oh,
You tried to play from here. Player 1, fifth shot.
oh, they're nice and easy. Oh,
Out of bounds.
oh,
One stroke penalty. Were you trying to play from here?
yes. Do it from here. Oh, look, a little golf cart.
Player 1, seventh shot.
Ow! Oh, it's stuff out the bounds again. Oh!
One stroke penalty. You must give
I'll
up.
be wrapping my golf club around a tree right
Give
now.
up penalty.
Hole number 13,
I'm
377
getting a little bit
yards.
tired, so I'm getting it's my reaction time slows down quite a bit, which can be really annoying. It's your job. My home is in walking distance of a railway station. While I was driving a car, the sort of shifts I've been doing lately,
Third shot.
I'd be sort of waking up in someone's duck pond.
Fairway. Player 1, fourth shot.
Oh,
Fairway. Player 1, fifth shot.
oh. Oh!
One stroke penalty. Once more. Player 1, seventh shot.
Ugh.
You must give up playing this hole.
Oh no!
Okay.
I've been using Twitch a lot more actually during the day
Lower
over YouTube because
This is Nancy's report.
you know, it's just some really nice people on there.
Player 1, tee shot.
Why I worry about sort of it going too left
Bounds.
on
One
Twitch.
stroke penalty. One
But, you know, I know a lot of the horrible sort of chud element have completely gone from there. Like Leafy losing his channel, I'm like, oh well, good. Don't want that horrible piece of shit there. I never forgave him for the way he treated that fella with I think it's Asperger's. I think it might have been Down syndrome. But you know, but basically, he was watching a video of this bloke who was basically someone had left something on the roof of their car. I think it was shopping or something, and he helped them out. And you know, being sort of
Penalty for overpower.
I don't know whether I can't remember if it was Down syndrome or autism, but you know, you don't act. It took me years and years and years to train myself to appear to be a normie. I thought I had manic depression. I didn't think that I had autism. But you know, it took me a long time to sort of train myself not to say everything that goes on through my head. Particularly having tact when it comes to jokes, because I upset my dad years ago by telling my gran loads of jokes I'd heard at school, and they were not the sort of thing you'd be telling a Catholic person. My grandparents on my dad's side were like virtually like Victorians. When they heard the joke about the woman having what was it? It was something about hairs being pulled out of her bum or something. And yeah, went down like a sort of lead balloon. really not. But now I understand about my autism, and a lot of my confusion as a child. Having bisexuality as a child weren't easy, especially at the schools I went to. You know, I know for a fact that if I was at school today, I'd probably be in transition, because wanting to be a different gender is no longer stigmatised like it was when I was a child. When I was a child, the suspicion of even acting gay could get you beaten up by people. So that if I even teachers I had would say horrible things about me. I once overheard a teacher call me a village idiot. And when I said, why are you calling me that, sir? And he denied that he'd said it. But a lot of them didn't hold me in very high opinion because they thought I was a class clown. And it wasn't that at all. I was massively confused about practically everything. Sexuality wise, it wasn't fun for me being at school, especially since I desired boys and girls and was very confused about the whole thing. You know, when I was at school, sex education didn't even cover homosexuality. I didn't even know what bisexuality was till I was in my 20s. Oh, you son of a bitch. Yeah, I was so angry, man. Because I was about to go to bed, and all of a sudden I got the Twitter thing, please identify who you are, we'll send you a code. And they don't send you a code. It's basically a way of freezing your Twitter when you've had loads of anonymous complaints. Because I had that explained to me by someone at work who said that theirs was frozen. I was like, that's just, why can't they just tell you we're not letting you use this Twitter account anymore? Because, you know, when you've got to get up at 3 in the morning and it's about 8:15 at night, all of a sudden your Twitter doesn't work. Fortunately, I had to hunt through one of my diaries for an old account I had and use that. But it's just annoying, you know, that someone could be that vindictive and nasty. You know, I even said to one of these blokes who was getting at me about being right wing, you don't know who I am. Why are you accusing me of being right wing off of one word?
Try next play.
So it's absolutely disgusting. Especially from someone like Pig Puncher who basically he got kicked off of Twitter for bullying people. And then he acted like he was the victim. Anyway, I've got to go because I'm nodding off as we speak. Yeah, so I don't know what to say. I hope that Destiny is restored to his partnership program, and I think Vaush is probably going to screw the pooch at some point because he's had a history of it. And I think when he goes down, he'll probably take all of the people around him with him and end up on as one of those BitChute crazies. Anyway, gotta go because I'm flagging all over the place here. Toodaloo.